This video shows an older man on the very day he passed away in a senior residence. He's already lying in his deathbed at the time, when suddenly something completely out of the ordinary happens.
Pero ¿qué le da a la ventana que la alumbra así? No me has hecho caso cuando te digo que se ve lo doble que eso. Y es que para todo se va hacia él. ¿Viste? ¿Qué puede hacer? Y no se ha visto fuerte como era. Mira. ¿Qué será eso? ¿Qué era una ventana?
At first glance, can you notice the light? And is it just a coincidence that the exact moment that light appears, the man wakes up, shifts, and stretches his arms out, almost like he's trying to reach it? What makes this video so shocking is that he really seems to see this light. Apparently, the man died later that same day. He believes it was the man's wife to pick him up, because she had passed away just a few weeks earlier. That would also explain why the grandfather doesn't look afraid. If anything, it's the opposite. What is your opinion? Josh owns a small cabin in the Appalachian Mountains, and he says he has been able to record something that shook him badly. It began overnight. Strange objects started appearing around the property, arranged as if someone had set up a dark ritual. At first he blamed the neighbor next door. The odd part was that, for as long as he had been there, he had never once crossed paths with whoever supposedly lived in that cabin. What bothered him most was the mess piled right at the main entrance. He filmed himself walking over to ask the neighbor if those items were theirs. That visit solved nothing, and the situation only grew stranger. He decided to bury them and burn what he could outside the cabin. Some viewers later warned that this was the worst choice he could have made. That is exactly what happened. The next morning he heard movement in the trees as if someone was circling the property, so he started recording. He caught a dark shape with a way of moving that would give anyone chills. What he filmed looked human at first, but the motion was closer to an animal. It moved on all fours. He began to wonder whether he had just seen the neighbor behaving in a very strange way. He chose to stay still and not confront it, afraid of what might happen if he did. According to his account, the figure slipped out of sight and vanished into the thick woods away from the cabin. The following morning, something else odd happened. He started to think someone was working against him. Not just physically, but in an energetic sense, like a curse laid around the property to harm him. That same day, he had a second encounter with the mysterious person and filmed it. This was the last update he posted. Some people believe whatever has been prowling near the cabin could be a skinwalker. They point to the end of the clip where the figure seems to notice him and even looks like it tries to bite. The audio also picks up strange animal-like sounds, which is why that idea caught on. A related clip was recorded by Matt, a woman in the United States. Late at night, she sat in her car on the way home and had stopped for a moment. Glancing at the rearview mirror, she noticed movement in the brush. A human-shaped shadow shifted between the branches. What a strange case. Now, let's take a look at some of Rosanna's latest uploads. She is still dealing with poltergeist activity in her home. She was trying to protect herself with a cross today as she witnessed things getting out of hand once more. She tells us that at this point she felt paralyzed and dropped her phone to the ground. She didn't remember anything after this. Could it be that the paranormal energy in her home is getting... In this clip, a man named Rosette moves into a new apartment without expecting that his very first nights there would be genuinely frightening. By July 2023, he has already dealt with several episodes of strange sounds and odd sightings, so he decides to film what has been going on. The idea is simple: show people exactly what he is dealing with and maybe get advice that could help stop it. He turns the camera on and begins to guide the viewers through the place.
Okay, so this is my apartment, guys. So I moved here in around July, and at least I think around, it was like last week I moved in, and half of it's fades, but it looked like bright ghostly. I don't know what it is, but very weird. It was very weird. But then all of a sudden, it's just crazy. Oh snap, what the heck? What the heck? Hello? What the heck? Y'all see that? Man, that thing drove by itself and there's no wind drag or nothing. Look at the fan, look at that fan, the fan working. What the heck? Y'all saw that, right? This is what I'm talking about. It's doing it by itself. Nobody ain't there. The frick is wrong with this? And to me, sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, but the internet ain't on. And it usually come on. But goodness gracious, that was just weird. But this is what I'm talking about. And then 2 days ago, I decided, because I didn't get no videos from last week.
While he is describing earlier encounters, the door swings open on its own. It happens as he mentions a figure he once saw standing in the corner of his room. The moment rattles him because there should be no draft strong enough to move the door, and he shows the ceiling fan is off. It could be that he captured something unusual, yet the clip alone does not prove the apartment is as haunted as he fears. A few nights later, he tries a different approach. He sets a camera to watch the hallway overnight and lets it run. The next morning, he reviews the footage and finds something that shakes him. At first it is barely noticeable, but if you study the frame, you can spot motion in the dark. On the left side of the unit, a small white speck appears, holds for a moment and then vanishes. He shares a side-by-side comparison, so the change is easier to see. Looking at the two frames back to back, it feels like someone or something was inside the apartment. For Rosette, this lines up with the shadow he says kept showing up near his bedroom. Now he thinks he finally caught it on camera. The strange part is that hardly anyone saw the upload, which might be why he did not continue posting follow-ups. 2 years have passed, and these remain the only 2 videos on his account. The next video was sent by user Psycho Car, and they tell me that they stumbled over the following clip, which was apparently captured by a group of friends from Russia. They decided to go camping in a notoriously haunted forest in their area. Not much is known about the clip, but at some point, late at night, they think to have been woken up by loud noises caused by a bear. And as they gather their things, making for a quick escape, things got even more scary. Some people speculate that they might have come across the infamous skinwalker who are said to roam these parts of the woods. Could that be so? If it wasn't just a weird prank, could it maybe have been something otherworldly? Or how do we explain this recording? Jacob had recently got a hold of a supposedly haunted jester clown doll. How? It is said that he inherited the old house of his late grandmother, and the doll came with it. Interested in occult objects, he kept it in his bedroom at night. Crazy, I know. And not long after, he felt that something was extremely wrong with the doll, which caused him to store it in a different room. This particular night, he woke up to some really terrifying noises from outside of his room, and he started recording. Jacob ends the video abruptly and states that he spent the night locked in his room. He wasn't willing to spend another terrifying night like that and decided that it probably would be best to keep this doll, which he calls Jeffrey, in the basement from now on.
With whatever happened last night, I don't want him near me. And in general, I think I'm just scared. I'm gonna be putting him in the basement, so I'm gonna follow up after I get that done.
Alright guys, this is the results so far.
I'm gonna leave him here for now, but I think I'm gonna put a camera here. Jeffrey's still here, so we're gonna see if there's anything I miss.
From that night on, Jacob caught several really strange encounters down there in the basement. Weird shadow movement, for which he had no explanation for. Eventually, he decided that it would be smart to have a rotating camera stand to cover more angles of the basement and to make sure that he wouldn't miss any more creepy encounters taking place down there. Something moved the doll's arm, and then we hear the light bulb pop for inexplicable reasons. Jacob is sure that this is due to the possession of his doll, and that the creepy activity will continue. I can't wait to see what happens next. The next video was initially recorded by Kayleigh Love and shared on her very own channel, Love to Investigate. Kayleigh was exploring an abandoned mental asylum that day. They had their investigation equipment ready. They were giving the old place a nice walkthrough at first and checked out several corridors and some derelict rooms.
All the sinks are broken yet again, like I like to say in all of my abandoned. What's that? Whoa. They like pink tiles, don't they? What's in that room? There's another room in here. I don't like looking behind shower curtains, that just creeps me right out.
After a little while, Kayleigh can capture an odd-looking thing at the end of the hallway.
That's pretty cool, that is. Smells like an hospital in this part, definitely.
It would appear that an apparition is standing there, and then walking towards the right into one of the rooms. She states that she didn't notice anything at the time, and that only after reviewing the tape did they see the apparition. If it wasn't any of her friends, perhaps, what else are we looking at here? A real ghost? Maybe a former patient?
That's pretty cool, that is. Smells like an hospital in this part, eh?
The following video comes from a babysitter who is recording the girl he's watching while she's playing with her toys. Out of nowhere, the girl tells him she has a doll that moves on its own when playing hide and seek.
When I play hide and seek with my doll, it moves.
You said it moves?
Yeah.
That doll? This doll?
Yeah.
Like you move it, or? Wait, what? When does it move?
When I play hide and seek with her.
When you play hide and seek?
Yeah.
Not sure what to do, he lets curiosity take over and decides to play hide and seek with the creepy doll to see for himself if it really moves.
Oh my god. Sadie, you scared me. Don't do that.
The dog comes out of nowhere and scares him, interrupting the hide and seek game before the doll has a chance to move. A little later in the night, after putting the girl to sleep, he captures the dog, growling aggressively at the doll, as if it was sensing something isn't right.
Noticed the dog has been staring at the doll. Looking at it. I'm kind of freaked out right now.
The dog growls at the doll while staring at it intently for a few minutes. We can clearly see that the dog is nervous being in the presence of this doll. A few hours later, in the middle of the night, the babysitter takes a nap when suddenly he hears a noise coming from the living room where the doll is placed. Realizing this, he takes out his phone to record everything, and what he captures is truly terrifying. Mysteriously, one of the toys in the room right next to the doll turns on by itself, but the most terrifying thing is that the doll, which had been in the same position all day, begins to move, lifting its head to look at the babysitter before falling backward and scaring him. He then runs out of there. This spooky experience really scared the man, and we don't know if he'll return to this house to watch the girl again after seeing all this. Creepy. A woman named Jay said she had recently moved into an old house she inherited from her grandfather. She says that since she arrived a few days ago, she's been hearing strange noises. At first, she thought it was just the wooden floor creaking. As she had just moved in, her grandfather's belongings were still in the house. The scary part is that most of these are dolls or old decorations that give Jay a creepy feeling. One night, while working on her computer, she said she saw something out of the corner of her eye.
This thing just moved.
Boy, all the talking head would have been screaming about the Dallas Cowboys and sticking forth in this organization. So again, kudos to the Cowboys going on the road, getting a good win, and see how they react. There's a saying in golf, there's no picture of a scorecard. You're down, you don't care if it's by 5 or something like. You just have to get
The door just moved.
Are you real? You can do it again. I won't watch.
It was at this moment that Jay realized what she had seen minutes before wasn't her imagination but real. First, a wolf moves on its own several times and the door closes. But the scariest part is how the hand of the creepy doll moves by itself. It's only when Jane films the mirror that it looks like the balloon and the door were trying to protect the doll or stop Jane from seeing it move. So far, Jane hasn't given an update. Could Jane's grandfather's house be haunted by those dolls? Would you sleep in that house? The following video was uploaded in 2012 by Real Ghosts on Film. The user had been experiencing paranormal activity in the forest behind his home for a while now, including disembodied voices, and decided he would try and use a camera to see if he could catch a glimpse at the spirits haunting the woods, which he believes to be the ghost of a young girl. About the video he wrote, "I filmed in the woods behind my house for only 5 minutes before I located the open area where her energy was. I wanted to catch her image. I've seen her several times in the woods but never filmed her until now." On the very far left of the frame, a white spirit suddenly emerges from the bushes and seems to actually skip past the camera. It's hard to see many details of the entity, but the size seems to align with the idea that this could be the spirit of a child. The user also wrote that immediately after capturing this, his battery died and the camera turned off, although he had only been out and filming less than 10 minutes. Do you think the spirit could possibly be responsible for the sudden battery drain? It wouldn't be the first time something like that has occurred, but do you think it's a true ghost capture? Let me know. This video was recorded by the dashcam of a man who was visiting the infamous Gettysburg Cemetery one night. There have been numerous creepy videos that freak people out over the years. In this case, the driver of the car was parked and didn't see anything himself at the time. His dashcam, however, kept recording, and after reviewing the footage, it turned out that he might not have been alone after all. To some, it looks like the spirit of a man is walking past the cannon to the right, a man that is wearing an old uniform. It is quite hard to come up with an explanation for this recording, if it wasn't staged, of course. Could this man capture a spirit, possibly reliving his days on the battlefield? What do you think?
The following video was posted by Riemann8. The user states, "Something set off the security alarm on one of our properties 2 nights ago. This is the footage we found after nothing was stolen. People believe whatever was captured could have been a spirit from a different dimension. Let's take a look." A shadow person seems to be walking through different rooms of the house and moving things around before he triggers the alarm and disappears into thin air. And as mentioned before, no signs of an intruder were found after. Strange, isn't it? The uploader swears that nobody was home at the time. I believe him. What could we be looking at here in your opinion? Pretty mysterious.
Now to another truly strange recording. It was supposedly captured by security at a nursing facility, and they insist they never saw what appears at the end with their own eyes. That's what makes this so unsettling. In the footage, it looks like someone is walking straight across an empty cafeteria, right in the open, yet the people there claim they didn't notice anything in the moment. The only reason they even caught it was because the camera picked it up later. Because of that, some viewers believe this might not have been a living person at all, but the presence of a former resident, someone who may have passed away in the facility and is still lingering there. The uploader also says this isn't the only time it's happened. He claims he has more clips like this, and if you want to see them, make sure to leave a like and tell me in the comments.